Good evening. Welcome to GrizzCon TV, where most of you are all very welcome. Most of you. I say most of you are very welcome because, even though he's my brother off the pitch, so to speak, he knows what Chelsea means to me, and same thing applies to him. He knows what Liverpool means to him. And as we're here, and people know I haven't got this hat on because I don't pay the utilities. I pay the utilities. People that know this is the war hat. This is the war hat. People know this is the war hat. So look, people are already saying, yo, what's up, Matisse? I don't know if that's the right spelling, but is the game's the game.
It's not, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's all love.
Exactly. I told him don't be late, and you know what? Credit to him, he was not late. It was me. Yeah, bro. Yeah, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. We don't want to go to no wars and fights. Yeah. Found my intro. Yeah, Ben. We'll discuss it afterwards. My God, you look guys have been filling about. But guys, welcome to another episode of Khanage, where we're previewing the Carabao Cup final. I don't like calling it the Carabao Cup final now that we're in it. Now that we're in it, it's the League Cup final. Makes it sound a bit more
juiced up.
You know how we did. Otherwise, it was the Rumbelows Cup final, the Carabao Cup, the Auto Glass. It can be called the way it wants because we weren't interested. But now that we're in the final, it's called the League Cup final. Of course, I've got my main red fella with me, Evan, in the building. What are you saying, Evan?
I'm doing good. My hat isn't quite as warm looking as yours, but it is meant for colder weather. I wish it was symbolic in the sense that it's like my war hat or like my pre-game ritual hat. It's just because I'm having a bad hair day, guys, and I didn't want to come to the stream looking
Same.
not put together. This is the attention to detail we give to you on GrizzCon TV.
Same, 100%. Red Steve says, evening, Red's Grizz going flaps up. Do you know what the problem is? So this side, right, one of them, the button's there, like, the button on the end, you can clip it up. This one, I noticed is come off. So instead of it looking lopsided, I just put both of them down.
Fair enough. Makes sense, to be fair.
Exactly.
Symmetrical.
Exactly. And the reason why I've got my war hat is because I've got of course, I love him to bits. He's my brother. I'm joking. Make sure he's welcome. And I'm sure you guys will in the chat. I've got my brother, Matisse. What's happening, bro?
I'm good. I'm very good. The game is coming and I'm starting to get the cup final fever now, do you know? And I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a big game. Like I said, we won't call it the Carabao. We'll call it the League Cup final. Give it some status. Now that the two big dogs are here, do you know what I'm saying? To quote Grizz, you know what I'm saying? The big dogs are here. Now we're going to call it the League Cup. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I'm talking about. 100%. You have to keep switching it up. You know what I mean? You can't have, one style, So you got to keep switching. Now that the big dogs are in the final, it's the League Cup final, All 92 leagues teams started off, and there's only two left. And it's Liverpool and Chelsea, Evan. And obviously, you was in the classic stream we done on Sunday night where people brought out not Sunday night. What night did we do the classic stream where I had to explain?
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday?
I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, Matisse won't know, but hopefully we might bring it up. But Matisse, people are asking me, like, I'm not usually so nervous and tense and anxious and when it comes to any game, except when it's Chelsea, and I have to explain to them, the reasons behind the Chelsea, the college, the university years where Chelsea fans were being born again, left, right, and centre, etc. And then the 13-14 season, where I paid £500 a ticket to sit in the Chelsea end to see Steven Gerrard slip to end my dreams. Wow. I cried on the way back, but it's we won't go into that because today is all about the build-up. But Evan, we're saying the time is nigh. The time is very nigh. Only 48 hours or whatever, something like that, to go before we get into the League Cup final. How are you feeling the night before?
Confident. To be honest, more confident than I was if you had asked me how I would imagine a cup final against Chelsea at the start of the season. I think maybe Chelsea fans themselves would be the first to admit that the season hasn't quite gone to plan for them domestically in the league. If we're just looking at the form table, then I think you would have to imagine that Liverpool are favorites, and that's how I do. I come into the game feeling like we are favorites. I've come on this channel and talked about how much I'm emotionally not invested in the domestic cups and things like that. This obviously doesn't mean anything to you guys because you guys live and breathe the domestic football in all of its ways, shapes, and forms. So and I do not intend to disrespect that. I will be matching your energy, Grizz. I will be, I'm here now, and I retract every statement I've ever made about the Carabao Cup on this channel. So, chat, don't roast me.
Exactly. Matisse, the background to that is Ivan, my brother from California, wasn't too much on the domestic trophies until we getting into the latter stages, and then suddenly, the hype got to him, and suddenly it's the Carabao Cup final hype. You know what I mean? How was you about the domestic trophies going into the season that you're going into from a Chelsea point of view? Because look, you ended up winning the biggest European trophy there is in the Champions League. You've won a fair few trophies in recent times as well. Obviously, you've missed a big one in terms of the league, but you've always picking up domestic trophies. So where are you, like, in the mindset at the start of the season in terms of the FA Cup and the League Cup?
I want it all, bro. I want it absolutely all. Like, for me, I always say to Chelsea fans, whenever I talk about these trophies, is one, don't take them for granted, because you never know when you're going to go for a period where you're not winning any trophies. And B, listen, that's what the game's about, is about winning. So I don't celebrate top four because I don't consider it this big celebration achievement. It's just, listen, we get it, good news, and we move. If we don't win the league, then we've lost, as simple as that. But for me, the trophies, they're memorable. They're going to be remembered. These are the celebrations that you look back to when I talk about Didier Drogba and his record in the finals, winning those trophies. I look upon the Everton win, Frank Lampard hitting the post and in. I'm sure you guys will love that one. Do you know what I'm saying? In the FA Cup final. So just getting some brownie points in at the start of the show, but you have to pick up the trophies. They're there to be won. That's what it's all about. And a team like Tottenham, I'll leave my little dig there. They don't win any trophies, and their fans would bite your hand off for a trophy, and so would literally all the other 92 teams. Like you said, they would absolutely crave and cry for these trophies. So I don't like, just because we're in a privileged position of the fact that we just happen to support a successful club, to go and look down on these trophies, because again, like I said, you never know when you're not going to be winning them. So you got to lap it up while you get it. I think for Chelsea right now, especially off the back of 2 FA Cup final defeats in a row at Wembley against Arsenal and Leicester, I'm even more hungry to be winning this trophy, because I can't take another Wembley defeat. We also lost this very competition in the Sarri season as well. Kepa obviously refused to come off. Everybody remembers that. So I need the cup. I need the cups 100%. It's mandatory. It's got to be done.
100%. Philip H., a Newcastle resident fan in the chat, says Matisse is a rare beast, a likable Chelsea fan. You know how I do. I only deal with the likable ones and the ones that talk sense. So that's why I've got the guy in. Just a quick super chat before I come to you, Evan. Dinesh says, appreciate the super chat. Says, evening, gentlemen, and everyone. You going to be around? Well, we don't have tickets, but we'll go for the vibes before the game. 20 minutes walk from home. Nice for Sam. I know we've been chatting about the domestic side of things and everything, obviously, Evan, and I know obviously your love for it, or not love, the passion for it has grown, and naturally it's normal. It's absolutely normal. Matisse touched upon sort of Tuchel's, not Tuchel's, but sort of Chelsea's record in recent times, in a couple of final defeats, whatever. This is Klopp's 3rd domestic final. The previous 2 ended in defeat for us as well. But we had a far inferior team to the one that's going into this final. We were sort of literally at the beginning, the literal birth of the super team that we have created right now. And there's no, I have no shame in saying super team. People may come for me if we lose. It happens. People may say, "My God, Grizz, call it a super team," but I'm actually calling it a super team with my chest. It's a super team and a super squad is formulated now. But he's lost in the previous 2 finals. Man City, and hit me with the other one. Man City.
I think in the Klopp era, it was just that one Carabao Cup final against City in the debut season.
Is it really?
It wasn't an FA Cup, wasn't it?
No, I think it's because I think you might be confusing with the Europa League final, which we made it to the same season.
Yes,
we had 2 finals in that first season.
Sevilla in the final, wasn't it?
Absolutely, Sevilla, yeah, absolutely. And that was the actual
hurt.
You know,
Yeah.
our teams then, if someone wants to put in the chat, please help me out here. Put in the chat the team that we had starting in that Man City final. I believe we had Lucas and Sacco playing at centre half, if I remember correctly.
Jesus.
You know, yeah, this is what it is, man.
Tough.
So maybe the Community Shield versus Arsenal. Maybe I'm confusing it, but I'm not. Don't try and get me out of it.
That's something that I do put lower down. I see that as a friendly
for
season
sure.
opener. I don't see that as a major.
For sure. But Klopp, usually the point I was trying to get to in a long way, Evan, was Klopp has got a pretty good record of righting wrongs. And he will want to right this wrong. It's another one now that we're here. He will absolutely be going for it. Like no ifs and buts about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, now that we're here, you know, it is another, you know, trophy. And, you know, I think Matisse is spot on. They all matter. They all count. If we want to keep claiming we have more trophies than Man United, then this is another one that counts. You know what I mean? So it's valuable in that way. Klopp has a great record, like you said, of righting wrongs. You know, the pain in 17-18 in Kiev went right back up, got to another final, won it the next season. The pain of missing out on the league, 97 points by 1 point to Man City, went right back up the end, got it the next season. Obviously, it's been a long time since 15-16 in his debut season. His attitude towards the domestic cups, and I guess maybe FSG's attitude towards the domestic cups. It's not quite just Klopp. You know, maybe that's prevented us from getting right back in there the next season. But now that we're here, we will see a full strength Liverpool. We'll see a hungry Mo Salah, you know, still fresh off the headache of the AFCON. I mean, that would be a nice way to ease the pain of that, right? You know, just another trophy, you know, won't obviously make up for it, but it helps the players. And this is what people say to me when I say, I'm not superly, you know, emotionally invested in these all the time. They say, but think about what it means for the players. And I would take a bullet for these players. You know, these players are everything to me. And, you know, so if it means the world to them, then it means the world to me. And I'm here for it. We will see a full strength Liverpool that wants it just as bad as Chelsea.
Ben's come to my rescue.
Wow,
and he's
that
put
team.
Up and put. But you see, this is, you know, Matisse, when we get comparison of coaches, and people often, and look, I'm not going to go into this Tuchel versus Klopp debate, as people may want us to get into, because it's pointless at this stage. It's, you know, I don't see much sense in it. They're at different spectrums of their careers, I guess. And, you know, their paths, their journeys have been similar, but so different, if you know what I mean. And this is one of the things I always bring up, Matisse, is if you look at that team, Mignolet, Moreno, Lovren, Lucas, Klein, Chan, Hendo, Milner, Coutinho, Origi, Bobby. Just give me your raw reaction to that team. Like, that's the best way. Just give me your raw reaction to seeing that team.
My initial reaction is, how many injuries do you have?
That was our strength. That was our full strength.
Yeah, that was full strength.
That was like, yeah, man, this is our full strength. Let's give it a go. And we're playing Man City in the final, and you know, we lost on penalties, didn't we? Yeah, we lost. I mean, when people talk about the job Jurgen Klopp's done, Matisse, from an outsider, yeah, you don't support Liverpool, so I guess you're an outsider. But I know you're a football guy. So as a football guy, do you think it's underappreciated, the job he's doing and done at Liverpool? Because that's the team where he came from. Literally, that's the team he's come from to where we are now in the matter of 6 years. Where do you see Klopp? How do you see Klopp as a coach and as a manager?
I think it is underestimated because, you know, and I said this before, and it's why outside the banter, you've got to look at the context. And I always go back to that season of, 97 points or something, or 90, was it 97 points? 97 points. That is a title winning season. Now, of course, that's not how it ended, and the history books won't care. But if you watched it and you followed it, you know what it was. It was literally a title winning season. It's just that there was another team that went that extra point. So you need to give credit for that season. Yes, it wasn't ended in glory, but you need to give credit for that season for sure. Now,
we actually ended that with glory by winning the Champions League on top of that 97 points.
Yeah.
Which some would say proves that was one of the most successful seasons for a number of reasons. Obviously, it wasn't tipped off by the Premier League, but winning the Champions League on top of 97 points, which apparently would have won the Premier League in 95% of all other
Exactly.
More, it's a higher percentage than that, Chris. It's closer. It's
Shit.
about 90. It's a higher percentage than
Wow.
that. There's only 2 seasons where that wouldn't have been good enough to win the league. The
I
current
beg your
season
pardon.
and
You're
the
right.
Centurions, every other season. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of context I'm talking about when we talk about that season there. Now, the budget as well. I like, Liverpool do spend, but they spend within their means. We all know that. I think even Chelsea and Liverpool are a little bit more similar these days, that we spend what we bring in, So now we're a little bit more able to relate to you than we were at the start of the Roman era, where we were just splashing like Man City are maybe, and Manchester United are. Man United are actually a sneaky team. They spend quite a lot. No one really talks about it, especially with the success over the last 5 years. But when you look at what Klopp's done at Liverpool, yes, we talk about the trophies and people say you need to win more. And I agree, you do need to win more. You definitely need to get a second Premier League title. That you didn't get that 97.1. So of course you need to go and get a second one to really state yourself in this era. You don't want to have one title out of maybe a 5-6 year period. That's not going to be good enough. But you have to look at what he's done at the club as well, because before Klopp, yes, Rodgers got the ball rolling to some degree, but there still wasn't a real clear ethos and direction. It was a good start, but you needed that person to come in top to bottom and restructure everything. And if you look at the way he's come, I always look at a manager in terms of their success, not just by the trophies they win, but how they leave the club as well, from where they came in. And where he's come in with that team now, I didn't know the team was that bad, and where he's going to leave this team. And I don't know when he's going to leave, because he seems to be going through another cycle now. And this is going to be the key, right? Can you do a Ferguson and do another cycle? That's where you really get into the next level of management, where you start going through cycles. And you see it with Diaz coming in, you see it with Khanage, you see it with Jota. Let's see how the next cycle goes for Klopp and Liverpool. But if you're coming in, and this is why I give Poch his credit at Tottenham and Southampton, and I give, the credit there despite not bringing the trophies in. If you come into a club and you leave them in a stronger position, then you deserve to get that credit. It's why I don't really jump on the bandwagon of, oh, Brendan Rodgers is a flop. He can't go up from here. He can't get another good job. He's a bottler. We have to remember who Leicester are and what he's done at Leicester. He's brought them a trophy, and he's finished 5th back-to-back seasons. Now they're starting to fall off. People will jump on the bandwagon and say he can't manage at the top level, but he's exceeded expectations. So if you come in at a certain point, especially at a point where you're not the best team in the league, and you're coming in to try and catch someone, then I think you deserve the credit when you come out and the team's in a better position from top to bottom, and the squad and the structure from top to bottom as well. So yeah, he's world class. I think no one's going to disagree with that, I don't think. But Pep's got the money. Pep's got everything that you've got, but then he's got the money on top. And then I think he's got a little edge on everyone, just in terms of his attacking football, because I think there's no one that can put Zinchenko up front against PSG and it works, Gundogan at Anfield and it works. He's got that special extra little percentage of just doing something that just makes no sense. Evil genius type shit.
I agree with you. But what I always say to that is the fact that it's because I actually think that Pep will go down as one of the greatest footballing coaches in the purest form ever. But that point that you made about money, what it means is he has more margin of error for making mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if someone doesn't work out for him, we could rattle off names right now. Some of the defenders, some of the fullbacks that they've tried and gone and through and whatever, they're just bringing another £50 million. Write that off. Let's go again. Whereas Klopp's margin of error is not a lot. You spoke very glowingly of Jurgen Klopp, and I always like doing this. I always like to get the opposition's opinion. So Evan, you don't have to blow smoke up Tuchel's ass or Matisse's ass if you don't think so. But what do you think about the job Tuchel's done at Chelsea in a fairly short space of time, right? First full season, right, Matisse?
This is his first full season. Yeah,
first full season. What were you saying about Tuchel's the job Tuchel's done?
Nothing short of extraordinary. If there was doubts over his status as a manager and his ability, his footballing mind, after the PSG project didn't quite work out, then he's answered them, because he comes into a team that player for player is weaker. Star power definitely weaker, and he's essentially proven that he can, chat to the big boys. And honestly, player for player, they're probably weaker than Liverpool and City as well. And yet he showed Pep what was up in the Champions League final. Gave Liverpool a really hard time at Anfield with 10 men. So I think he's come in here and he's made a name for himself in almost every single category. And I shiver to think what Chelsea could look like if they have a 10 out of 10 window coming up this summer. I think maybe one of the big criticism I've had when I've talked to other Chelsea fans is they don't think the recruitment, the hit rate isn't quite there. They would like to have something that more resembles City's or Liverpool's. So if Tuchel can get the players that he wants and they solve that £100 million conundrum they have up front, I don't think we've even seen even 90% of what Tuchel can do at Chelsea. But it is a matter of keeping him happy and getting him the players he wants, because as we all know, the coaching situation at Chelsea is fluid at best. So if they can keep him on side, they can keep him happy, get a 10 out of 10 window where their hit rate is really there, and they decide what to do with Lukaku, I see no reason why Chelsea don't almost overnight catapult themselves into a team that could get 96, 97 points like the teams they're going up against. I think he's been great.
LFC Aaron, appreciate the super chat. He says, I don't think any other Premier League side topples the Man City team of the last few years apart from Klopp's Liverpool and possibly the 2005 Chelsea side. I rate that 2005 Chelsea side as one of the great Premier League teams as well. Yeah. So that's a great shout there. I genuinely, people, obviously, I absolutely agree with Matisse's opinion that Jurgen Klopp needs to win another major trophy before his time ends at Liverpool. I have absolute zero proof and evidence, but I know in my heart of hearts that last season we would have won the Premier League if we had a normal season with injuries. I don't mean no injuries, I just mean a normal injury season, because I think we were primed to win that league again. They ended up winning it with 86 points or something, Man City, or 82 points or something like that.
It's difficult to judge because they might have took their foot off the gas because of no competition. So certain things like that.
But the fact that we were on top of by Christmas, and playing some amazing football, even without our centre halves, and then they were just everything was taken away from our feet, underneath our feet, and then we just couldn't sustain that. So, but look, as I said, I've got zero evidence of factually prove that. It's a massive feeling. I wanted to ask you. Someone said, "Oh my man, none of my business is none of your business."
Shout out Nanya.
Yeah, he says Tuchel is the modern day Mourinho stylistically, in my opinion. Thoughts, Matisse?
Modern day Mourinho. When I think of modern day Mourinho, I think of prime Mourinho. So we're going back to Chelsea, Porto, that era for me. Maybe a little bit of Inter Milan as well in there because of that incredible Champions League win with the Schneider, the Milito, the Eto'o. Then it's faded ever since Man United and beyond. So I'm not even going to count that as that's like two different human beings, isn't it? Basically. I think in some ways I can understand where you're coming from. Tactically, you're coming up against the big sides. He seems to have that edge, but he's not using his words in the press conferences. So when I think of Mourinho, I think the game starts in the press conference. The guy is literally starting the game from there. He's calling out, reading out other teams, team sheets without even that being confirmed to news in the Barcelona Rijkaard kind of battle, Rafa Benitez battle, Wenger battle, obviously Ferguson, it was more of like a father-son, maybe a little relationship. It was more respectful. That's where I would say there's a massive difference between the two, because in modern day management period, you don't really see that type of battle. I kind of miss it, to be honest. You don't really see managers clashing like that and having real rivalries and just creating their own, mini match, so to speak, before the game even begins and on the touchline, etc. But I do get it with the way that he approaches the big games and the way that he seems to nullify teams in the big games. The way that he set his team out against Manchester City in the final was so impressive. And that's why I am confident. And I said it to Grizz, and that will be out on tomorrow morning on my channel. But I spoke about my confidence going up and down depending on very crucial Tuchel decisions in this game. And I think the goalkeeper and the striker. Those are the two key positions that can make and break a game. Those are the two positions that there's nowhere to hide. It's definitive, and if you miss the shot, it's your fault. There's no one to blame it on. If you don't save the ball from going in the back of the net, there's no one to blame it on. It's your fault if you've made an error. It's all between Mendy, Kepa, and Lukaku Havertz. And if he gets those two things right, then I think this game becomes very even, and it's a very difficult game for you guys. If he gets those wrong, which I don't expect him to, then I'm not saying I'm forfeiting, but I'm going into that stadium already in a negative mindset, because I think it really is a massive difference to the way Chelsea approach the game. But I do expect him to put Lukaku's ego aside and sentimentality aside for Kepa, sentimentals aside, and he puts together the right team, and that's Mourinho-esque. So I get some of the comparisons.
Yeah, I at first, when I first read it, I wasn't sure, but the more I think about it, and again, chatting on your channel earlier, the mindset that I spoke about, Matisse, do you remember in terms of even the fan base? I mean, you guys, shout out to Eunice and Miz on your channel as well. That straight away, the chat was based around how you're going to try to nullify us. That's a pure Mourinho stylistically, isn't it? That's pure Mourinho. Always more concerned with devastation, stopping, as opposed to creation, invention. Yeah. So that's where slight differences between sort of Klopp, Pep, where we're more sort of front foot trying to create, where the likes of Mourinho, Conte, even Tuchel comes under that in terms of trying to stop the others. I wanted to ask football guy who's our Man City resident fan, because I would like to see Chelsea win. Can't lie, I don't want Liverpool getting any more momentum. Evan, is there such a thing in sport, momentum? What a good question. Have a think about that. Is there such a thing as momentum? Like, does momentum exist?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We see it not just in winning trophies and, feeling good about yourself. We see it every time we watch our teams play. We can all, it's like that feel you were talking about, Grizz, earlier. You said, I don't have any stats or numbers for this, but I can feel it. We can all feel when our teams are starting to lose control of a match. We make a mistake, the other team capitalizes on it, and they start to think, oh shit, we might have a chance here. And that gets them to come out of their shell. But momentum is absolutely a real thing. It's something that can shift in seconds, and it's something that can benefit you over the course of a couple months. Like Liverpool winning on Sunday could give them momentum for the rest of the competitions that they still find themselves in. Absolutely. Is it something that can be calculated? Obviously not. It's just something we feel, and it's something we notice afterwards. But it's absolutely a real thing. There's team sports that reflect momentum better than football. Basketball is a great example of a sport that's even more momentum based than football. And, the whole tactical battle in basketball is trying to nullify momentum, coaches calling timeouts at strategic times and things like that. So yes, momentum, absolutely a real thing. Without it, success is not possible.
In that case, if momentum is a thing, then we need to start getting into sort of the lineups and the tactical battles in this game, guys. Evan, I'm going to stick with you.
All right.
A lot of people are asking the questions already, and obviously, people want to know what our thoughts and opinions are in terms of the selection and lineup. So, someone, first of all, I need to get this out of the way. Says, Grizz, do you know why Curtis Jones wasn't featured up until last game? Is there disciplinary issues with him? Absolutely no disciplinary issues with Curtis Jones. We have a super squad, and sometimes certain players will be left out of the squad. If he had any issues or disciplinary issues, whatever, he wouldn't have come straight back in as a starter against Leeds in a must-win Premier League game. So there's no issues with Curtis Jones. It's just we have a super squad. Sometimes good players will be left out of the squad. Evan, what are we doing then in terms of momentum? We've got to keep going. Do you anticipate pretty much the strongest lineup without going into the actual lineup, what you think? Or do you think, because we know, for example, he's going to pick Kelleher. Let's start with that, because that's what we know is 100% certain. How do you feel about Kelleher starting over Alisson? Let's start off with that.
Obviously, you'd rather have Alisson because on his day, he's probably the best goalkeeper in the world on his day. But you know what Kelleher has proved over the last 2 years, but especially this season, is he is an absolutely competent number 2. We're going to face, I think, a challenge to keep him at the club in the summer. I definitely think there's a career for him in Europe's top 5 leagues as a first choice goalkeeper. So it'll be about warding off interest. But just in terms of ability in a one-off game, I trust Kevin Kelleher. And I love saying his full name because I've practiced spelling and saying his full name. It feels really good. I also know how to spell Leicester without looking it up, by the way, but that's another topic. I feel great about having him. I think he has the same qualities as Alisson. So, you know, so much of what a keeper is these days is what they can do with their feet in a front foot team. And obviously that's a requirement for us. And that's maybe why Adrian looked so out of place when he would come on for us, because he does not have the same sort of skill set as Alisson, but Kelleher does. You know, he's good with his feet, if not a little more comfortable with his feet than Alisson. At times. Technically sound. He's what we want. And yeah, I have absolutely, you know, no objections to him playing. This is what you owe your cup goalkeepers, as they're now called. Is, you know, this formula that we see. It's pretty common. You have a cup goalkeeper, you got a league goalkeeper. So yeah, no objections over him starting. He's earned it. He's gotten us there with some of his performances.
It's a crucial part of his man management, isn't it, Jurgen Klopp? This is one of the indicators of the kind of man management he is as well. And I agree with you. As even though people are going nuts about, no, this is the final, this is fucking Chelsea, Alisson, the best keeper in the world, you got to bring him back. I totally understand where Klopp's coming from, and I agree with Klopp. It's very difficult to disagree with Klopp, but it, you know, it makes sense. But switching that to you guys, Matisse, I know you said it sort of in terms of, you've already mentioned it, a couple of key decisions that he's got to make.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is it certain that Mendy is back? Because I saw a massive article, someone pointed towards me and said that the article stated that Kepa, I don't know, Kepa may start. What's your take on it? Shout out to Miz, by the way. Check out Matisse's channel, obviously, guys, doing some great work. And we've done a show on there as well. Big up Miz as well in the chat. What's your take on the situation?
I'm a lot more cynical. I'm not very not very sentimental or emotional when it comes to things. It's why when Chelsea fans come to me with the Eden Hazard banners, can we have him back? I take those banners and I give them back to them politely and say no. And it goes for a lot of former players that we're linked with, you know, Oscars and whatnot. I always turn it down, because unless it makes sense at the time and they actually, if you was to strip their name and look at their performance, are they worthy of a Chelsea return? And usually the answer is no, and it's more emotional. Then I always say no, thank you. And when it comes down to this situation here, Kepa's played every single game in the cup so far. He's been vital in some of those games, saving penalties, etc. So he more than deserves to play. You know, in terms of rewarding him, he deserves to play. However, it has been stated a lot of times, you know, when Tuchel is asked, Mendy is the undisputed number 1. It's not up for conversation. It's not up for discussion. It's not something that is not known to Kepa. He knows he's the second choice goalkeeper and he knows Mendy's the first choice. It's not that Kepa's had some really good form while Mendy's away at the AFCON and suddenly now there's a blurred grey area as to who is the first choice. Mendy is the first choice. So I do expect Mendy to start despite the rumours of Kepa and obviously the questions of Kepa playing. For me personally, you go with your strongest goalkeeper. You know, Chelsea Football Club is a ruthless club. We've always been like that. We're trying to change that in some regards with the manager. I don't think I'll change that mindset with the players and obviously who needs to start these big games. We need to win this trophy. And when you're coming up against one of the best attacks, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass because I'm on the channel. I've said it everywhere. This is one of the best attacks. This in Manchester City is one of the best attacks in Europe. You don't want to start changing the smaller percentages in the wrong direction. And this game can be defined on very fine margins. And yes, Kepa's a very good goalkeeper. You know, he is. And even better, he's a better penalty stopper. And I would say the same if we got to penalty shootouts. You hook Mendy off immediately and you put Kepa on the pitch. So the lack of sentimentals goes both ways. I'm very, very ready for Kepa to come on as a 5th substitute for penalty shootouts because he's way better than Mendy on penalties. But those finer margins, when we're talking about elite finishing, say Salah's making that run in behind and he's going to tuck it right in that corner. And it is the fingertips, the difference, the small difference between getting there and not getting there. I'm going with the stronger goalkeeper, the goalkeeper that is picking up the FIFA awards, the goalkeeper that is the number one, the goalkeeper that has just won the AFCON and has just played the final of the Club World Cup, which Kepa obviously played the semi-final and then was taken out. So for me, you always got to go with your strongest team because, listen, this is not no joke. This is a serious game.
No, it absolutely is now. You know, as you said, when you get two sort of world-class coaches, world-class squads, 11s, you forget the title of the trophy you're playing for. You absolutely do. You could be playing in the backyard. You could be playing down Hackney Marshes. Everyone's going to ask me, what the fuck are Hackney Marshes? Hackney Marshes is a reference to sort of the local grounds where I grew up. But people in the chat that know East London will know Hackney Marshes is one of the oldest set of pitches.
Did I tell you I was born in East London in Whitechapel? So I know East London.
Around the corner.
Yeah, I know East London. Yeah.
Brick Lane.
Yeah. And I used to live in like Forest Gate and everything near Stratford.
Man, Spud G.
Spud me G.
That's what I'm talking about. But listen, so look, that's another subplot that we didn't even think about, guys. Because if Mendy plays and Sadio Mane is playing, that's a nice little. If that goes to penalties,
yes.
Do you remember the little drama with Salah? Do you remember, Evan? We talked about it. Mohamed Salah telling his keeper about where So there's a bit of a subplot there with the penalties and the keepers knowing each other. AFCON. But we'll get into what we think is going to happen during the game. Has Matisse sort of made you think about the goalkeeping scenario with us, or are we good? Are we comfortable? In Kelleher, I think we are, aren't we? But if Kelleher, but we've got no choice because Kelleher has been outstanding. He hasn't made any mistakes, and Klopp's already told us from early. So therefore, we can only back him now. What do we do with the rest of the defense then? So obviously, we know Trent and Robertson will start. What are we doing with the centre half pairing, knowing that we've got a young keeper behind us? Do we go with the tried and tested, the best centre-back pairing in world football, Matip and Virgil van Dijk? Or do we bring in the young warrior, the pretender to the throne, the one who tamed Zlatan, the one who tamed, who else? So many. Lukaku, no, he hasn't tamed Lukaku. He didn't play against Lukaku. Lukaku ducked both games, right, against us. He didn't play. He hasn't played against us, has he?
No, he played at Anfield.
Oh, he played.
He played, yeah.
But who's the other? Khanage has tamed a few players, man, this season already. Every time he stepped in, Cristiano Ronaldo at Old Trafford, where he made his full debut, right? Premier League. What an inspired signing this guy is as well. What are you doing, and what do you think Klopp's doing, Evan, in that centre back? We'll try to break it down step by step.
I don't think there's going to be a change from Van Dijk and Matip. Because if Matip's healthy, and we talked about momentum, he just scored last game. So, and Van Dijk just scored. So plenty of momentum there. If I feel comfortable with Kelleher as a second option, I do have to say I feel even better about Ibou Konate and the impact that he's had. He's hardly put a foot wrong in a Liverpool shirt. And I think his stock has risen so much just in his debut season at Liverpool. If he were to play, I don't think he's going to, but if he were to play, I would even have less issue with that than Caoimhín Kelleher, because, like I said, his stock's risen so much. It was seen as Upamecano was the pick of the litter in that center back bunch at Leipzig, but his stock's gone one way and Konate's stock's gone the other way. So I feel great, and I would have no issue if he were to play. That being said, Van Dijk, Matip, cash money, I would want them for any game in any era.
No, fair enough. In terms of your defense, Matisse, obviously you've been very unlucky with the fullbacks this season.
Yeah.
Our deepest sympathies.
You can relate. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Our deepest condolences, with having defenders missing for a large part of the season. But look,
triggering.
so today, look. So I think, and I said it was on your show as well, I think your three centre backs pick themselves. Your three best centre backs, your most experienced centre backs, the ones that you've based your your brilliant defense on in terms of Rudiger, Christensen, and Silva.
Yeah.
I think Alonso is your only realistic
Wing
wing
back
back
option. Yeah.
It's the right wing back. Now I saw Tuchel's press conference today where he said Reece James is flying. He also said he's completed all week's training sessions.
Ooh.
And he also stated at the end, I think, unless you know, and if there's Chelsea people in the chat, he said something along the lines of, I'll wait overnight to see if my sane side or something will allow me to, something like that.
Allow me to pick him, yeah.
What's your take on it?
Well, two things. If Reece James does miraculously play this game and start this game, which I would be surprised because
it's not miraculous, man.
We don't tend to rush players back from injury. We do tend to look after them and be a bit more, intelligent than that, not to take that risk, because the rest of the season still has to come to a conclusion. We've obviously still got to solidify ourselves in the third position. We've got Champions League football, which he's going to be vital for. If we have any shot of getting to the latter stages of the Champions League, Reece James absolutely has to be a huge part of that. Vital.
Yeah.
So we have to be a bit more calculated and not be so hasty to play him. However, if he does play and he is past fit, I wouldn't rule out, and I wouldn't mind Azpilicueta going to the other side potentially on the left, just because defensively I can rely upon him a lot more than Alonso, and that's been the talk of the town, is that Alonso, he can go forward, but defensively, the pace in the transitions, in the counters are going to be a problem. Malang Sarr doesn't give you enough going forward. Azpilicueta is not great going forward, but he did put up Chelsea's highest amount of assists from a fullback under Frank Lampard in Frank Lampard's first season. He does find a way to contribute to the attacking play, even though he's not the most modern day, fluid fullback in the world. He still does deliver some decent crosses. He did so for Morata. He tried to rejuvenate Morata's career, didn't quite work out. He does find himself getting in the end of things in terms of getting in the box. He scored Tuchel's first ever goal at the club against, I think it was Burnley at home. Scored in the Plymouth game as well, running into the box for the first goal. So he does contribute. He's just not. He's not going to be sustainable for the long term. Of course, we need more talent out there in those positions. So that could be a wild card from Tuchel. But I expect Azpilicueta to play on the right side, Alonso on the left, and if Reece James plays, then fantastic. But I just hope we don't risk him, because if he was to pick up another knock now, then we're absolutely screwed for the rest of the season.
I think it makes sense, and he probably will go with the long-term theory strategy in terms of safeguarding the rest of the season, because you're right, especially with Chilwell no option. Chilwell out for the season and Alonso as your only option. You don't want to be left with Azpilicueta, even though I've said it many times, again and again and again, Azpilicueta is a Premier League don, legend, elite, call it what you want. He will go down in the Hall of Fame of defenders in the Premier League. Moving into the Liverpool midfield, Ivan, I think this is probably, I think, unless, again, I don't know, Ivan, will he spring a surprise on us? He has in every game, in every round, sprung a surprise. Even in recent league games, nobody saw Curtis Jones. Nobody. Even with my ITK hat on, I didn't see Curtis Jones. You didn't see me putting Curtis Jones in the team overnight in the WhatsApp group. Exactly. So no one knew about that. What's surely no fucking about messing about, playing about in midfield on Sunday, especially seeing how we had no control in both league games against Chelsea. And the key element and the key person that wasn't in either game was Thiago Alcantara.
Yeah. If Liverpool are trying to win a football match, and it's an important match, there's only one space in that midfield three that's even up for discussion, and that's whoever's playing next to Fabinho and Thiago. So we're essentially talking about one slot here. And you're right, Grizz. It literally could be anybody. And we've spoke for hours on the show about how good we feel about Fabinho and Thiago as a duo, and how good the numbers say they are. That on the day, we're not really too fussed about it. Curtis Jones, cool. Jordan Henderson, fine. Naby Keita, okay. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, okay. If as long as we have Fabinho and Thiago next to whoever that third body is, I'm okay. If we're gonna go on form and who's in rhythm right now, I think we're looking at between Naby Keita, and then you're always tempted to have your captain on the pitch for games of this magnitude. So my gut tells will either be Henderson or Keita, but you're right. Klopp consistently throws curveballs on the right side of central midfield. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I'm going to ask both of you the same question. I'll go with Matisse. Actually, we get your thoughts on your midfield. So we know that you're going to play a back five, even though there's some rumours and some suggestions that you may revert to a 4 and pack your midfield. Again, Tuchel is a tactician who likes to play with tactics and formations. I don't see it personally, but let's assume that we agree that it's the 5. Key question A, is it 3 in midfield as opposed to 2 and then 3 up front? How do you see yourself setting up in midfield, and give us the personnel that you think you're going to go for?
I think off the ball, it needs to be 3. On the ball, it needs to be 2. And the reason why I say that is because I don't want us to get too hemmed in and pegged back and not be able to connect with the forwards. So that's where Ziyech or Mason Mount comes into the discussion, because Ziyech over the last couple of months has probably been our best. Actually, he has been our best attacker far and away the last 2 or 3 months. He has been also given a lot more tactical responsibility in this team as well, a lot more influence over how we set up off the ball, and obviously on the ball we do tend to go through him a bit more because he is on form. Against Tottenham, he played in this right wing back spot, and he was going up to the right wing position in naturally there, but then he was also coming quite central in the right RCM spot as well in the Tottenham game. Can't remember which one because we played them 3 times, watched them every single time, so it's kind of difficult to just separate them. But he was a big part of those wins, and I think he can be trusted to some degree to be that guy that falls back into the pivot. However, Mason Mount's got the track record of big games: Real Madrid, Liverpool, Man City in the Cup semi-final last year. And he's not playing well, by the way, Mason Mount. I wouldn't say he's in great form. I'd say he's pretty average at the moment. However, tactically, he might be used as that guy to link the midfield to the attack and just be that go-between who picks up the ball in half spaces, wants to get in and around Fabinho and cause him issues, but then also wants to funnel back into the pivot and give that extra cover. I think a major part of this is depending on who plays in the pivot. Kova seems to be coming back as well. Thankfully, him and Ziyech picked up knocks, but they seem to be coming back and will be available for the game against Liverpool. So it just depends on whether the manager wants to go with them and he feels they're ready to start those 2, or if he feels like they've got to start on the bench. If they've got to start on the bench, then Mason obviously gets the nod in that 3rd spot. If not, and Kova, if Kova's available, and Kova and Kante, they're the 2 most mobile players. If Kova's not ready and Jorginho's got to come in, then you have to have Mason to cover him from a mobility standpoint. So that's the way it looks for me. It's if you've got Kova and Kante, you might be able to go Ziyech, but then you've got 2 players playing on a potential just coming back from a knock. So it all depends on fitness. If you've got Jorginho, you probably want to go Mason. So it'll be interesting between that group of 5 players, but regardless, I do think the midfield battle is going to be where this game's won and lost, because Thiago didn't play at Stamford Bridge. It was James Milner. There was no control. Like you said, you went 2-0 up, but you didn't shut the shop up. You allowed us to come back into the game for the 2-2. Chelsea obviously rallied, put together a really good performance after a pretty turbulent week. But I think the midfield is key, and I think the key for both teams is probably not to have too much possession. Like, you want to have control, but don't try and over-dominate the game, because I don't think either team really wants to come up against a defensive block. I think both teams would like to have a bit of space to run into and pass into, and not just have to, come up against a defensive unit. Because I think both teams are capable of defending. Your defense is good. Our defense is good. I think our defense, for me, concedes less opportunities in terms of 1v1 opportunities, because you probably play a higher line on average. But both teams, if need be, probably can do the defending if they have to. I'd say probably us more than you, so are probably used to having to do it. We can defend if we have to, but I would like us to have a little joust and not completely, because I don't want to see Liverpool try and counterattack Chelsea in any way, shape or form, or transition on Chelsea, because we've pushed too high up the pitch and we've got numbers forward. That's the last thing you want to do with Salah, Mane and Diaz.
Absolutely. No, you make a few good points there. And Evan, I wanted to ask both of you, which is the least midfield that you'd like to see against your team? So given the options and suggestions that Matisse has said, who would you not like to play against tomorrow?
Well, I don't know if it's my imagination, but it feels like Chelsea just thaw out N'Golo Kante twice a year to play against Liverpool. It's really annoying. I feel like he's injured every other time. It's
It's
pretty
true.
annoying for a
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. He can be injured. He can be ruled out for 3 months. But if we're playing him in 2 weeks, he may be just hauled out for us. Yeah, just against us.
Yeah, the universe playing tricks on us, but it is what it is. Obviously, I don't want to see one of the best midfielders of his generation in N'Golo Kante. I would also prefer not to see Kovacic. I think he has gone from a player who's maybe split the Chelsea fan base a bit at a time, and I think from what I've seen, maybe Matisse would disagree. He seems to be a unanimous favorite now. So yeah, those two especially. I'm a big fan of Mason Mount, but if this isn't going to be his game, then it's not going to be his game, and I will not. I would obviously prefer if he didn't play. So I rate quite a lot of the individuals, but yeah, it's really just Kovacic and Kante. I would really not like to deal with them because I think they can match us physically in midfield and technically, which not a lot of teams can.
Matisse, from your position, which midfield would you not like to see? What would you say from our position is our strongest midfield?
I don't think it's your strongest because I do think there is that third midfielder that you spoke about where, depending on form, it can definitely be quite interchangeable. I think Keita started the season very well, but I do rate Harvey Elliott's potential very well as well. I saw him at Anfield in the 1-1. He was very good. He was one of the best players on the pitch for you guys, I think. But for me, what I don't want to see is probably Fabinho, Thiago, and Harvey Elliott, because I think Harvey Elliott on that right-hand side of your midfield, he just offers something different. I know what I'm going to get with Henderson. I know what I'm going to get with Keita. They're very good players, but Harvey Elliott's just got that little extra bit of creativity, that extra bit of ball carrying and skill. And obviously, down that right-hand side with Salah and Trent, I just think if you add Harvey Elliott to it from an attacking standpoint, especially when I know Alonso, if he's going to play at wing-back, or Malang Sarr in a back four, it doesn't matter who it is. Both of them are not Chilwell. So it's going to be a weak point regardless. If you have Harvey Elliott on that side as well, I just think it's going to be a problem for us to deal with. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of work to get through, 100%. Yeah. So it's probably not who everybody's discussing, because I think Keita and Henderson are probably the favourites to play. They're more experienced. They've obviously got experience at the top level. But Klopp did trust in Elliott at Anfield to play that 1-1. I wasn't expecting him to start that game. He did. Took up the heat map for him on that right-hand side was crazy. He covers a lot of ground. And I think he's a good complement to Thiago and Fabinho, because I think Thiago and Fabinho can sit deep. They can get involved in the build-up. They can dictate. And Harvey Elliott can kind of become that 10 that Liverpool have always lacked since Coutinho, and he can drift and connect the midfield, the attack. I don't think Henderson's as good going forward as Harvey Elliott. I think Henderson, probably is better to just sit these days. And Keita, Keita's injury issues, so it's very up and down for him. He gets some decent form at the start of the season, gets injured. So I'm not sure where Keita's at right now in terms of form, if it's up and down or not. But yeah, I think Elliott for me is the one. Interesting.
It's good to see Elliott being sort of spotted or recognized by opposition fans, or not just deluded Liverpool fans who just raise their own, right? So there you go. I think up front pretty much picks itself. Jota, I think, will make the squad, will be the subs bench. As we're running out of time, me and Matisse got to run off and get ready for a total different show to this. It's going to be absolutely animalistic.
Polar opposites.
Polar opposite, jungle mania. Like, we're going to survival of the fittest, and I'm going to have to wear this hat and strap it up as well.
Oh, so what it is as well? Is it just, it's not even that we force it. This is us normal. This is our natural. We love talking like this. Absolutely. But I think when you put us together as a collective, it just, someone, even if I come in calm, someone's gonna piss me off.
Trigger.
So what you're saying is you guys aren't friends where you're going.
It depends, man. It depends. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know what we are as a collective when we're on that show. I don't know what we are. We've shared bread.
Yeah, we have. I've just spoken to Toby today. After I spoke with you, I did a show with Toby as well. Calm,
we've sat down, we've shared bread. All of us, we've eaten together and met each other on a human being level basis. When you watch that show, you think we're the worst enemies. But listen,
I think it's the branding.
Yeah, I think so. Evan is Jota, Mane, I beg your pardon. It's Diaz, Mane, and Salah, our front three. We're good with that, right? We're fucking good with that.
Absolutely. Obviously, would like to see Diogo Jota had an incredible season, but I think the race against time is just coming down to too much to the final minutes. I think it will be that 3.
100%. Jota, I think, will be a subs bench, but again, not another bad sub to have.
Yeah.
We would have loved to gone into your Lukaku chat, but I think the fan base is adamant that they don't want Lukaku up front, right?
It's very clear. Very clear.
So that leaves Havertz,
Pulisic for me, or Mason and Ziyech. Mason or Ziyech, depending on fitness. Pulisic and Kai. I think Pulisic's got a good record against Liverpool. I think he deserves to play after the midweek, and Kai is an absolute must up front. Tempted to go Werner on a big Wembley pitch as well, but I do think
man.
Yeah, Werner does cause problems with that high line. It's just that I think Pulisic deserves it from midweek, and also we talk about those fine margins. As much as I love Werner, he's not finishing as well as Pulisic. So if he does miss a few chances, I'm going to get very angry in Wembley very quickly. So I'm going to leave him to the end, maybe as a sub. Tired legs, never know. Matip starts to get leggy. Extra time, bring Werner on, big pitch. Next bit of energy comes on.
Do you know what? The beauty of this game is, you're right. If it's tight or if it's level going into sort of 60th minute onwards, look at the options of both sides. We've got Lord Divock going to be waiting. And the Lord Divock story, as I keep telling people, it ain't written yet. The final chapter is not closed yet. There is one more iconic goal for Lord Divock. And Sunday could be amazing. And same thing with you guys. Lukaku and Werner being written off, being hounded out by fans, certain sections of the fans or whatever, or, and then suddenly could be heroes. This is what makes this game amazing and tantalizing.
Yeah.
An hour's flown by, man. Didn't even notice the time, but that's what happens when you get football people chatting football. You guys in the chat have been amazing as usual, always are. Big up yourself, Matisse. Thank you for coming on again, my friend.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. I love coming on here, man. And I'm glad to see you with your channel now. You know what I'm saying? Let's get that 10K, people. Make sure you're subscribed. It's good to see. More to come.
100%, man. Appreciate that. Evan, you're on Sunday, aren't you, for the post-match?
Unfortunately, I will not be.
No, you're not.
Unfortunately, not. But I'll be watching the game. But I'm actually moving on Sunday, so I gotta hit the road.
Okay, good luck with all that as well, man.
Yeah.
Look, Sunday, depending on the result, we'll be here. We're still deciding if I'm going to host if we lose or not. But we'll sort it out. We'll have a show nevertheless. Guys, you've been amazing. Like on your way out if you haven't liked already. Subscribe. Actually, you would have been subscribed because I put it in subscriber mode. I'm learning the tricks of the trade as you go along. I'm learning, all this business. But listen, long way to go. Sunday can't come quick enough, man.
I can't wait.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's tantalizing. It's two balanced teams, massive, huge squads. I say just bring it on, man. Let's see where we go from here. I've got to close up this show. So here we go. I'm going to hit the outro and we out of here. Take care, people. Speak soon.